I wanted to clean up from the very first time that I started using. I knew I was like, this is not okay. And I was basically a closet junkie for a good amount of time. And I, I think every addiction has its golden era where everything is like spot on and amazing. And then when things fully collapse, they really collapse.
So in this episode, we sit down with artist, skateboarder Scotty Colin. He shares his journey with me about growing up in LA, being a part of the punk rock scene, skateboarding, travel, how he fell into addiction, and his path to recovery. It's a path that involves art and creativity and his specific attitude of self-discovery and personal growth. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Scotty. I hope you enjoy this too. I know how I could casually start, but kind of add some structure to our brains.
Sure.
Because it was based on this. I don't really actually need to look on this, but so you're in town. This is kind of a little casual intro here. You're in town now for your artist talk, an exhibition at Outsiders and Others.
Outsiders and Others, yeah. Okay.
And what I know about you, this is just my summary in my mind. What I know about you so far is grew up in LA.
Yeah. Moved like outside, like the suburbs of LA. Yeah.
Suburbs of LA. Moved to Vancouver at some point, and we'll get to that further on in the interview. But moved to Vancouver, was in the punk rock scene, struggled with addiction, got clean, discovered art, and art has been a big part of your personal development and recovery journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I also know that you're a skateboarder.
Yeah.
And I know, based on conversations we had years ago, that you're into the Enneagram. And,
oh, yeah.
And the way I remember it, I recently looked up the definition. It's a psychological model of, is it 9 personality types?
9 basic personality types, and it's really breaking apart the ego structure.
Yeah.
So it's looking at the ego structure. You could say there's 9 types. There's also a validity to saying that there's 27 because there's actually 3 variations of each type.
Each type.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depending on your dominant instinct. So out of all the different, there's all kinds of systems and maps that I really love working with, but the Enneagram was probably the one I've spent the most time on. And when I found the Enneagram, it was like
light bulb.
I found like a magic key to life. So yeah,
it's valuable. At that point when you were describing the Enneagram to me, at that point in my life, I was kind of veering away from structured things, even though I had my own structure of how I understood personal development. But the way you described it and how much it impacted you, I was like, whoa, there's something to this.
Something here.
And then I think you kind of coached me into discovering what my type was, and I kind of looked at different situations in my life, and and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. For me, it was like the understanding gave me a bit of freedom to be like, oh, and maybe I could change that. Or anyway.
Yeah, so the Enneagram is really challenging for a lot of people too, because it's kind of putting a mirror up to you and it really exposes your shadow.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily fun, and there's a certain, you could say that there's a real surface level, kind of like what I call the McDonald's version of the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And then there's really getting deeper into it and really doing deep work with it. And it can be used spiritually, it can be used psychologically, it can be used in the work setting. So it has different uses that you can really focus on. But it's a good tool for people that really want to look at all facets of themselves to have a greater level of self-awareness.
Yeah. It's almost scary at first. You don't want to. You don't want to admit that that's kind of. I fall into that pattern. Yeah. No, that's not me.
Yeah, because it exposes your shadow, and they're like, our shadow is a part of us that we don't like to show people. We don't like people to know, and so it's one of those things. It's like, how do they get inside my mind? How do they get inside the way I feel? It's actually, the Enneagram is mostly about your motivations. So what motivates you to get your needs met? And it generally tends to be, we try to get our needs met the same way that we did in childhood. and those mechanisms are outdated and need to be upgraded.
Yeah.
So it helps you look at like all the things you did in childhood to get your needs met. And so
People pleaser, this, that,
Yeah.
all the different roles. It's like the roles we learn to play.
absolutely. Yeah, and it also explains like, you know, we're not all meant to be a physicist or a nurse or an architect, like they're, you know, or politician.
Yeah.
There's when you really look at the Enneagram, it's like, oh wow, like that's why I am the way that I am and why
Yeah.
my specific wiring is here. And it's what actually creates balance around the world.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah. Kind of get goosebumps. Out of all the, in just a few moments, we'll dive into, I want to kind of get the journey. And then just before we do that, out of all the kind of things that helped you turn your life around on your journey of this personal development journey, what was the biggest? Was it your artwork? Was it the Enneagram? Or was it a combination of those things and maybe other things?
Absolutely. So it's a combination of a number of things. And what I'll say is when I really got lost in addiction, I think this is very common for anyone that gets lost in addictions. I thought I could beat it. I thought I could outsmart it. And it's like, oh, it's hilarious to even think in those terms now. You know, looking back, a lot of things in life we don't really realize until we're looking in the rearview mirror, you know. And so I wanted to clean up from the very first time that I started using. I knew I was like, this is not okay. And I was basically a closet junkie for a good amount of time. And I, you know, I think every addiction has its golden era where everything is like spot on and amazing. And then when things fully collapse, they really collapse. So I would say, you know, what helped me get out, going to rehab really helped me get out, because that was, even though I don't really agree, or I find that the modern method or design of treatment centers is incomplete, and it doesn't really, well, anyways, that's a whole different subject. It at least provided me a space to where I started to learn about myself and started to look at like, what is my inner world like? What's out of balance? You know, what needs to be repaired? And so that really helped a lot. Doing the 12 steps was like crucial. I would say that I had a sponsor I did NA for a number of years and it really failed. And then I ended up doing AA. And I got a sponsor that was like, do the steps or you're going to die, essentially. And
That's some motivation.
Yeah. And like, it's what I needed at that time. I needed someone to step in and be like, you need to get your shit together. Like you're going to die if you don't turn this around. And so I did a very thorough set of steps. And it actually shocked it out of my system.
Wow.
And that was like 1 year. That I was clean.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's, you know, I relapsed for about 4 or 5 months, and then I eventually the Enneagram I learned about pretty early on. It was like my addiction counselor that really turned me on to the Enneagram. So I found not to go on and on about it, but I find that when I really started to dive in to what my inner world is like how I operate, I just became fascinated, because I like to build things. I mean, if you look at the things I build, if you look at the artwork, I like knowing how things work. And so, you know, most of us are on autopilot, just existing, going too much off of what is in our external environment. Not many of us really look at, well, what is it like? What's going on inside? You know? And so all of a sudden when that shift happened, it's like you can spend your whole life exploring and discovering. There's so many different maps and tools for self-development. I found that's when things really started to change, was like just actually becoming fascinated with how I operate.
That was infectious for me when I chatted with you years ago about this stuff, was your curiosity.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like you were one of those, sometimes you could hear the term like self-help junkie, where they're just, they're so into personal development, but you can see they're not really getting any, they're just putting a lot of baggage, more baggage basically. But the way you were approaching it, the way you described it to me, I was like, whoa, he's having fun. Not that it always has to be fun, but he's curious, he's learning. Yeah. And in my mind now, the more I research personal development stuff, it's rewiring the brain.
Well, exactly, and I was just going to say that as I was hearing you talk, is that what we're really trying to do is rewire the subconscious mind, because when you understand it from that perspective, 95% of our whole life is run by the subconscious. So it's only the 5% that, like, you and I are here now that we're aware of. We think that that's running the show, but it's not at all. It's the 95% of that subconscious. So what we're attempting to do is like rewrite that. So in the term I came up with is just creating a different feedback loop. So if you work at it hard enough, it's like, for a long time, it's like swimming against the current, and it's like, is this even going to work? And most people give up, or they don't put that much effort into it, because it's like, well, I am what I am, and it's never going to change. If you keep going and you keep going, and then if you have good mentors, you have good guides, you have good community, then it can kind of help carry you through. And there's these pivotal moments in our lives where things shift, and it's like, you look back and you're like, wait a second, I'm actually responding to that differently than I would have before. And it's, again, you don't always realize things until you're looking at it in a rearview mirror. Yeah. Cool. So create a different feedback loop. That's essentially what we're doing. Loop. So it's feeding. It's almost like the feedback loop would be those events, situations, people that used to trigger that old thought pattern now instead triggers resilience or confidence or whatever your word choice is. Yeah. And that's the new feedback loop. Exactly. Or I'm being triggered, focus, what's my breath doing? Yeah. Is my breath feeding the anxiety, or what can I do to, it's almost, it's not an obsessive, maybe this is the benefit of having a history of addiction, of like being able to just really focus on things and almost obsess over them. The new, I'll say passion, because obsessive is maybe a little out of balance, but a deep passion for how do I move through life and have, balance as the main focus. I love it. If that's a beautiful intention, because if you have that as your focus, you'll notice when you're off balance, and then you can explore, okay, what's going on there? Yeah. How do I bring myself back? I'm reacting to that. I'm feeling a certain way, Yeah. Self-exploration. I think this is the way I'm understanding it, and what you share kind of aligns with this. I think is self-exploration. When it's not just looping on the same thought, when it's actually discovering what's going on, what can I do differently, what can I create? Yeah, that rewires totally the brain. I was just going to say, you're creating new pathways in the brain by doing that. Exactly. And something, because I've been writing up a thing that I'm going to paste on one of the back. With my art, I do a lot of stories on the back, or messages or prayers or different things that go along with the art. And so I'm doing one right now. And part of it is the message behind it is that it's actually by leaning into what causes you pain or discomfort that will actually help you understand opposites. Understanding opposites. If we're avoiding what's uncomfortable because we're way over here, then we're kind of running with a flat tire. So if we can kind of lean into what makes us uncomfortable and build resiliency, then that ultimately will lead to mastering the human condition. Oh, I love it. Sweet. Yeah. I'm actually just, that's a really good quote there. Yeah. I mean, it's like an internal martial art, you know? And so there's different methods to it. I'm going to say this is why it's so crucial to have mentors, teachers, guides. And a lot of the stuff that I've ended up with, Some of it's been, more psychology coming from the West, but a lot of it, the longer I go, the more I kind of funnel into, I guess you could say, ancient spiritual traditions, like ancient Eastern traditions that it's like they figured it out thousands of years ago. And here we're all spun out of balance, and it's like if you go back to kind of the root of things, then you could actually exist in the modern world amongst the chaos, but really work at having a completely different inner world, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Man, we just dive right into the deep.
That's what it was like living together, though.
Yeah.
It's like we'd wake up in the morning, we'd come up and sit in the kitchen, and it's like sit at the table, and it was just
Yeah. If I knew you had a few moments, let's dive in. So, backstory for people watching and listening is how I met Scotty was we lived in a communal house together, and I was there in 2019 for a few months, 6 months or so, and then moved away for a bit. Then I moved back in just after COVID, a few months after COVID.
Right.
And so I was at the communal house, and we didn't hang out a lot, but we'd run into each other in the yard or at the kitchen table in the morning or something. And it was fun.
We had a lot of deep conversations and exploring the. Well, because we're both we're both HSPs. That's something that I noticed right off the bat. That's another study that I'm really into is Elaine Aron. She's written these amazing books, The Highly Sensitive Person.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother. That the first book of hers was another game changer for me that helped me understand myself. So I think that's one reason why you and I connected, because I recognized that right off the bat. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my experience on those conversations is this should be a nightly thing. Why is everyone else stressed about this or that? Let's have fun. Let's explore what our thoughts are doing. And I think seeing it from that perspective, the world's it's different than it was maybe 100 years ago. It would have been easier to do that, but the city, all the information overload, everyone's busy, at least in their imagination.
Shall we do a little journey? Deep dive into the journey? Not too deep, but we could.
Sure.
Because I'm curious. So
what do you want to know? Where do you want to go?
You grew up in LA. Whereabouts?
Simi Valley.
Valley.
Yeah, it's right on the border of Northridge.
That's near the where they shot the creature from the Black Lagoon. We went and skated at what was a big ditch when I went down in Sam McKinley.
Okay.
And he's a movie buff, so we had to go find it, and we did it's in Simi Valley.
Right. Oh wow, cool. Yeah. So there used to be a skate park there. This was after I left because I was there during the time of skateboarding is not a crime, because they were trying to outlaw skateboarding on the streets there.
90s.
Yeah, in late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
And so there was a shop in Simi Valley called Agrizone, a skate shop. And so me and my brother were sponsored by Agrizone. And so there was we used to go to skate competitions. Was it Castle? Was that the name of it?
Yeah.
So we do that all the time, and we were on Team Agrizone.
we went to a few castle contests in
Really?
the States. Early 90s, was it? 91 maybe? 90s, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And some of those maybe were at the same contest.
Yeah. And I went to skate camp, which was really cool. I think I'm not sure, that might have been up near Visalia, but big half pipes and...
you got some transition skills.
Yeah, I love
I've
transition.
seen some photos of you doing some hand plants.
Oh yeah, I love hand plants. That's my move.
Rad.
Do you have any photos we could splice into this video after?
We definitely. I have an epic photo of me pulling a really good hand plant, and it's the Pacific Escape Park. And the funny side story behind it is that I was detoxing off of heroin.
Really?
But I was clean enough that I was like, get me on, like, here I go. That was like my last run before I ended up cleaning up. Anyways, long story. But
I look forward to seeing.
Yeah, it's a good shot. I have it at home, or maybe I've got it on my phone somewhere. But
Okay, so
Yeah.
in LA, in that Simi Valley,
yeah.
did you move out and live in other areas in LA before?
No, so I ended up growing up. I was actually born in Long Beach, but whatever. I was just born there, and then I grew up in Simi Valley, and grew up skateboarding, playing in punk rock and hardcore bands early on. And back then it was really they were a lot more intertwined. Punk rock and skating. Yeah. So, and I had a lot of friends that were older than me, so it's like, I just have a lot of memories of all that punk rock skating. And so I was actually 17 years old when I ended up getting really into spirituality. Like I dropped acid when I was 12 years old. I was really young. And it was actually a tremendously powerful and beautiful opening experience for me. I was way too young to do something like that. But it's part of my journey, and it's part of what opened me up, I would say. And I didn't have the mentorship, the guidance, the structure to really be able to, formulate it into something of value, I guess you could say. So that was kind of like, I was eccentric and, not really normal. And fast forward a few years, I was really into like Jack Kerouac, like, different authors that were, I got into Paramahansa Yogananda, got into, various spiritual ideas. And at one point I was like, I want to just like hitchhike across the country. So I cleaned my room. I was 17 years old. I got rid of everything that I didn't want. I had a small backpack, and I got a bus ticket as far east as I could, which was Chicago. And I just started hitchhiking and hopping trains around the country. So
Sleeping, just finding places to sleep.
yeah. Yeah, and like I followed the Grateful Dead around. I did I went all kinds of wild places, and I was very naive, very young, and just very open-minded and very free-spirited. So so I basically did that for 3 summers in a row. I would just go hitchhike and wander around the country.
Teenager, 17, 18, 19.
19, yeah.
And then when did you move up to Canada?
So yeah, I ended up living in Colorado for about 10 years.
Oh, okay, you were Colorado first.
Yeah. That's because I discovered Colorado on my journey. I like hopped a train through Colorado. I was like, this place is beautiful. And I ended up staying there. And
Where in Colorado?
Paonia. So it's like a small town in the western Colorado, in the mountains. There's like so much that happened during that time, so much I did. I don't know if I ever told you, this is something I'm actually going to talk about at the art opening, because I have a painting of it, but I got struck by lightning on top of the tallest peak in Colorado.
Do you have a photo of that? No.
No, but I have a painting of it at my show.
Painting.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing.
There's a whole storyline to that, and
What?
If there's one thing I could say that's been very clear about my life that people notice right off the bat, is that when I get into something, I really get into it, and I really wrap my head around it, and I really explore it. So when we could do a whole episode on the lightning strike, and I'll try not to to talk too longer about it.
I'd love to be able to have a YouTube thumbnail of being struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Photo of you. That's gnarly.
Yeah. So what it did was, I think getting struck by lightning was what really brought my trauma. I mean, it is, you know, I would think appropriate considering the context of the conversation, is that when I got struck by lightning, it really brought my trauma to the surface because it gave me PTSD. And so it like brought a lot of unresolved issues that I have, stuff from childhood. It all brought it to the surface. And so, yeah, I mean, I got really obsessed with climbing mountains. Because years later, I wanted to overcome my fear of being that high up on top of a mountain peak. So I went and, you know, I was like, I want to do this again to overcome this fear. And I ended up climbing a 14,000 foot peak. And I was like, this is amazing. Let's do this again. So the next weekend, I did it again. The next weekend, I did it again.
Whoa.
And I ended up doing 24 peaks that summer over
Really?
14,000 feet.
Wow.
So
You've lived an adventure.
yeah,
Beyond
absolutely.
what I knew of you before.
Yeah.
Which of course I knew there was more. I didn't know that you'd been struck by that.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's lots of little side notes or little, you know.
Okay, so LA and then hitchhiking and then
Yeah.
Boulder. Or no, not Boulder. I meant Colorado.
Colorado.
Why I said Boulder is because I've been to Boulder, so I know Boulder. So
Yeah.
Colorado in that small mountain town.
Yeah.
About 10 years there.
Mm-hmm.
Climbing mountains.
Yeah, climbing
overcoming your
mountains.
fears.
I got really into studying like wilderness skills and
Yeah.
like primitive skills. I got really into making bows and arrows, like making fire with, you know, just sticks. That's a huge phase of my life, was like living in a school bus in the woods for 6 years in Colorado. Yeah, I could have stayed there for the rest of my life and
Wow.
just done that, but lo and behold, I show up in Vancouver.
Yeah. So what brought you from Colorado to Vancouver?
Yeah, so okay, I was in a relationship. We ended up getting married. She was from Vancouver, and she lived down there with me. And at one point, I think we were probably 6 years into our relationship. It was like, let's get married, and she wanted to come be closer to her family here. So we did that, and I did the immigration, and yeah, I landed in Vancouver 2004.
2004. And do you have Canadian?
I have dual now, yeah.
You have dual citizenship?
I didn't actually get it until I left just a few years ago.
Yeah.
I had a permanent residency.
Yeah.
And, but when I was getting ready to leave, I was like, I don't want to lose my ability to come back here. And I have like a whole nother life here, you know?
Yeah. It's a nice backup plan.
Yeah, totally.
Another country to move to, just in case.
Yeah.
But where you're at now sounds amazing. We'll get to that in a while. So
Special place.
In Vancouver, were you involved in the punk rock scene in Vancouver?
Absolutely. So yeah, I moved here, started going to punk and hardcore shows. There was a thriving scene back then.
No, Sean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know him well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Totally. And so, yeah, that's when I really, because I had this kind of side note of my life after going into my 20s where I moved to the woods essentially in Colorado, and it was like, forget the complicated world. And then I went back into the complicated, city world. And so that was when a lot of the things from my teenage years came back. Like I started skating again, started, going to more punk shows, and I connected with a bunch of people in the punk scene. I started playing bass in a band called Go It Alone. That was the first band that I had a couple of small projects before that, but I played a number of projects. But then Beelines was like the big band that was like my band where I was writing the music and doing those are my big creative venture.
Nice. What's it called? Beeline?
Beelines, B-lines.
Nice.
Just like the beeline, the bus line.
Yeah. And you played lots of shows and stuff?
Oh yeah. We did a few albums and we did really well. We had quite a good following.
Fun.
Yeah, locally. Fun. We did US tours too. We went down to the States. And
so was this while you were in the Beelines, was this after struggle with addiction or during or?
It was during, there's a lot that happened in that. Like I had just, there was a band I was playing in called Fuck Me Dead. And we ended up breaking up and then forming Beelines. And that was right around the time I started using, actually.
Okay, so you didn't use in California or when you grew up? No. It was.
There was a lot of, in retrospect, looking at life in the rearview mirror, I had a lot of warning signs and a lot of addictive behaviors, a lot of addictive patterns, to where I feel like I was kind of like a time bomb just waiting to go off in some sense. So, like I smoked weed to an unhealthy degree and would get panic and anxiety from it, but still couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Did it anyways. And so, addiction, it can almost be a blessing when it's something so gnarly that it just destroys your life, because then you have to rebuild and you have to remove it all.
Yeah. Rebuild from scratch.
Yeah. Whereas if I, this is why I'm actually thankful. One of the reasons why I'm thankful for my addiction, because if I never had things fully collapse, I'd still just be hanging out, smoking pot on the couch, having anxiety and not dealing with my life.
Yeah. Wow. There's a quote on your website. I think it says, sometimes you have to get lost in the dark to find the light. To find the
light, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
There's another great quote from, I think from a Buddhist book, that a friend of ours, Ethan, who you're friends with, who's the woman that I met in the backyard once, the communal house, and she said she knew our friend Ethan.
Oh, I don't know.
Tall, blonde, super friendly.
Brianna?
Yeah, Brianna.
Yeah.
I remember Ethan, rest in peace, Ethan. He was George's roommate years ago, but Ethan had a Buddhist book or something, and there was a line in it. I think it was from him. Something like, when things are falling apart, it's time to do what you really want, or something like that. It's almost like when things fall apart, it's like time to kind of just go for it, focus on what you actually want to be doing or something. That's how I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if it's exactly similar to, getting lost in the dark, find the light.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, what I went through, and it's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Because that can be like the mechanism for transformation that some people need. Some people don't need it, and some people need to learn through very painful experience that I want a different way in life. So I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
And it's not. Pain does not keep us straight, or doesn't keep us from making the same mistakes. It can be a catalyst for saying, I don't want to do this anymore. But what will actually keep us really focused on a better life are the benefits of actually being in balance, being in tune. And there's like a high that comes from it. It's like, wow,
it's a healthy high.
Healthy high, yeah, because it's balance, and it's what we're actually created for. But we have like this constant infiltration of imbalance that's coming at us.
Yeah, negative programming, society, certain friends, family, possibly.
Yeah, dysfunction, trauma. We all have trauma. There's like uppercase T trauma, lowercase T trauma, but we all have it.
I think that's so important what you said. I mean, we did an interview a while ago with a woman, Anne, who had lost her son to fentanyl.
Wow.
He was 12. And we interviewed the sister too, and she's during the time of the interview, I think 19, but when she was younger, she dabbled in that stuff, and she kind of got scared straight, meaning she realized that she can't continue on. Her mother can't lose another child. And so in the beginning, it was that kind of the pain of possibly seeing her mother lose a child, that motivated her to just, that's it, I'm done.
Or even fear.
But then she said over time she started making it more about her, about actually enjoying her life. And maybe the way I interpret it is actually like what you said, the good feelings of having a good life. And the way she described it was sharing time with friends that she loved, felt like family, and other creative pursuits.
Yeah, and what I mean, this is kind of jumping ahead a bit, and I don't even know how much I'm willing to go into this, but there are methods, like getting back to Eastern traditions and spirituality and even techniques within, meditation and breathing exercises. There's ways to get you into ecstatic states that surpass any high, that is completely sober. That's purely spiritual, connected.
I believe it too. Yeah. I mean, I experience it with some of the work I've been doing these days, mostly anxiety relief for people when I do the sessions. It's almost always, they just want a quiet mind. They just want a clear mind.
Totally.
And when you apply some different techniques, whatever your technique is, it is quite possible for a lot of people a lot of the time to actually get to that space of quiet and clear. We just have been programmed to think otherwise.
For sure. And it's again, remember creating that feedback loop. And one analogy that I can maybe share through a way to relate to it is, it doesn't happen overnight, or it doesn't happen on the first try. It's almost like bodybuilding, or like, you could see someone that maybe is really out of shape and they're like 500 pounds and they have a very unhealthy lifestyle. So we're able to look at someone like that and we know that there's imbalance because you can see it. But what about our internal world? So we don't always see that in someone. We look at someone from the outside, but we don't know what their patterns, what their processes are internally. So it's the same thing. You don't become a bodybuilder from doing a technique once if you're 500 pounds. It's a process at getting to that point where you're like a super triathlete. And so it's the same thing with the internal world. And this is the part that can be the most challenging part to explain to people, is that it actually works. You just have to keep doing it.
I heard someone say you got to be tenacious. I think that's the correct word. You actually got to do it. There was a question that was bubbling up inside me as you were sharing that. I'll get in just a few moments. I'll get to a bit more of the timeline stuff because I'm curious about the recovery. But for you, when you feel yourself off balance, what's your go-to? What gets you back? What's the best way? Maybe top 3 ways that you're like, that's my go-to. That's my go-to. That's my go-to.
So number one, the most fundamental thing in life that 99.9% of people aren't even aware of, I would say, is breath. And I don't mean just breath with, we hear about all these techniques with breathing exercises and, there's all these different techniques now. I'm talking about breath from like a moment to moment level. So how am I breathing from moment to moment? Because when we really study the breath enough, you'll recognize that it's deeply affected by our internal emotional state, and if our breathing is out of balance, then it will feed the imbalance in emotions, and then it becomes a feedback loop. So one of the I would say primary things that I work with is the breath.
Sweet.
And I would say within like a lot of spiritual traditions will say if you master the breath, you can master life.
Wow.
So that's the
Can you give me? Is it like 4-4-4 breathing? I've heard it's like breathe in 4, hold 4, breathe.
That's box breathing. That
box.
Works. That's good.
I've been exploring. I've heard a couple little interviews on Buteyko breathing.
Buteyko's awesome. So Patrick McEwen. If you get it, he's like one of the guys from the Buteyko.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of traditionally of what we've been taught. Those big breathing with the mouth and Buteyko is just almost like gentle.
The less you breathe, the more you actually get.
And I was actually kind of coaching my mom a few months ago when I was out there visiting her, and I was taking her to a medical appointment, and she started getting anxious, and so what she was doing is just like almost hyperventilating.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And that's feeding her anxiety.
and I could see she was getting more and more and more anxious.
Totally.
So I think I popped up on the YouTube channel a little Buteyko breathing exercise where it's just
absolutely
gentle, slow it way down.
Way down.
Almost so you feel like a little bit of oxygen depletion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that supposedly that increases the carbon dioxide in the blood, which actually then helps the oxygen.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So the connection between the physiology, like it's all connected. Spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. Those are the 4 areas that I work in. So I can, if something's going awry with me, I can look at where am I with the integral model. You know, am I ignoring a certain area of one of those corners?
Wow.
Because what I'll say with the integral model is that if you do deep work in all of these 4 quadrants, then your life comes into balance. It's you know, when people are spiritual bypassing, they're usually not paying attention to trauma or one of the other quadrants. If you're just an exercise junkie and you don't do anything, you know, you're always going to be out of balance somewhere if you're not contacting the full.
And then for you,
areas.
breath is kind of one of the main go-tos.
Yeah, breath is the primary one. And so if I need to pull myself aside and even regulate my breathing, you could even do like heart rate variability is a really great thing. There's guides on YouTube or even on Spotify. There's the breathing guides. So it'll be like a tone that's like 5 seconds in and a different tone for 5 seconds out. So you get your breath so it's like a swing. So it's just even going back and forth. I do that virtually like consistently.
That's inspiring, because recently I've been practicing the little tools that I sometimes share with clients, but I've been practicing them more myself. I think I might bring that breathing one into my repertoire.
Absolutely.
Because I don't do it much myself.
Oh man.
I do a peripheral vision one, you know, when you just look at a spot and then without moving your eyes, just become aware of the peripheral. Supposedly this stimulates parasympathetic, the relaxation response.
Yeah.
And that might naturally happen when you do the breathing. You might just naturally, everything kind of, the physiology. Yeah, most people don't realize that anxiety has a physiology to it.
Totally.
And calm has a physiology to it. And, which meaning the breathing, it could even be the eye gaze.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah.
This is the I would say the issue with the Western model of medicine is that they kind of compartmentalize everything and don't realize how interconnected things are. Yeah. So, you know, and it's like, where's your diet? Where's your, like, are you eating foods that are high inflammatory foods? Or, it's like, cool. I think when you explore it enough and you really start to see all the connections, it's like no wonder the world is the way it is and completely catastrophically falling apart because we don't have a grasp on.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the basic techniques and tools and even understandings aren't even that complicated. They're quite simple.
Exactly. This is the bizarre thing is that, you know, it's like, whoa, life is so complicated. It's like, but in actuality, it's actually really, really simple. Yeah. We make it complicated. And it is complicated in the sense that we have events that happen in our, you know, whether it's our family or our with relationships in the world, that we can have a difficult time adjusting to or being affected by. So it's a weird contrast or paradox, how simple life is, but then how complicated it is at the same time. You know?
Complicated it can feel.
Yeah, and I think especially for, you know, HSPs, it's like we are like the ones who show the way with this because our lives depend on it. Because if we don't figure these things out and then become a guide to show other people, then we get lost in our own despair and our own anxiety.
I'm going to repeat what you said. If we don't figure things out, we get lost in our own. I think that you tapped into, I think that's why I'm doing the work I'm doing these days.
Absolutely.
Hypnosis and coaching is because the very tools that I'm guiding people through are the ones that kind of freed me.
Absolutely.
From being stuck in anxiety,
Absolutely.
stuck in self-sabotage, etc.
Absolutely. And it's exactly the reason why when you got a hold of me, I was like, priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
good.
It needs to happen, because any chance that comes up that's like that can put some kind of signal out there to show that there are different ways to do this than maybe just listening to your doctor or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
wait. You do need to listen to your doctor.
You do. Yeah. Complement it with some some other stuff.
Yeah. It's just good to get outside of the box a little bit and start to think about there are things happening that are a little more complete.
Well, there's a great I recently discovered him. I think his last name is Schwartz, Jeffrey Schwartz, and he wrote the book called You're Not Your Brain, I believe.
Okay.
And he's a psychiatrist and a researcher, and he's actually researching the brain and how doing little, any of the things that you and I have described, doing little processes to help shift your narrative.
Yeah.
Actually changes the brain. They've done brain scans, and there's different chemistry that gets released to lock in place the new neurons and new pathways.
Absolutely.
That's how I interpret some of this stuff. I can't say exactly that's what he said, but he's saying that the brain doing self-reflection and they call it self-directed neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
he says
that makes sense.
The science is showing that it actually literally changes the brain.
Absolutely. And what just came to my mind as you were sharing that is that I believe what we're essentially trying to do with all of this, and what's at the base of what we're trying to achieve, is trying to create a healthy sense of self, like having a healthy sense of self-love and knowing that we're worth it, because I believe that one of the common things that many human beings suffer from is guilt and shame. And when we have guilt and shame that hasn't been fully healed, it comes out in a lot of dysfunction. And so health and shame, or having a healthy sense of shame, is that a right way to say it? Shame can actually be a tool in order to make
behavior.
It's like, I don't want to make that choice again because I remember what that feeling is like. So if we can sort of change our perspective on shame, stop making the same mistakes, and then as we build this foundation of tools, then you actually feel good about yourself because you're making the right choice and building that sense of self-love. Yeah, I love it. So I'm going to kind of assume that all of this stuff you're sharing with me and the deeper aspects to it that we haven't even verbalized is a part of what kind of you grew into in the journey of your recovery and overcoming that. It's been a continual journey. It sounds like it, even beyond the recovery into just day-to-day life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if someone's listening to that and being like, well, how did he actually recover?
Yeah.
You're kind of covering it here.
Yeah.
What you're sharing.
There's a lot of components to it, and I think a lot of components to my journey, because a big part of it, and this is a whole nother, like this could be a whole podcast in itself, is like the use of psychedelics within recovery-based and spiritual settings, because that's been a big part of my journey too.
And you were saying there's pluses and minuses to that.
Absolutely. And I think what I have to share about it is important to like keep in mind that, because there's so much attention on psychedelics right now, and with what they can do, with the benefit of them, and I believe it's a complicated subject, and that not everyone's built for it, and it's not a magic button where it makes things go away. It can cause problems, it can create spiritual bypass. There's a lot of, I guess, caution flags.
Yeah, there's other elements that might be more important when considering whether one do that. Because I've talked to a lot of people that have done ayahuasca for personal development, and some have amazing. I'm like, yeah, that was good for you, by the way. And then others like, they kind of almost fogged them up. So I want to know what And for me, when I've listened to, it's actually just been a handful of stories. The people that seem to have gotten value out of it were the ones that came out of it they went in with intention.
Oh yeah.
And came out with a perspective shift because they were very clear that they wanted to have. They wanted to come out of that experience with a perspective shift, or you could call it a new way of thinking and feeling about things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if people haven't really maybe embodied that intention, maybe that's when it gets fuzzy.
Yeah, what I'll say is that particular substance, it's very real. Mm-hmm. It's very deep. And like I'm trying to think of even how to formulate it because it's so big and it's so powerful, and the spiritual component of it, of what it can uncover, is it can really help you to get an insight into how we're designed, what is the meaning of life, what is this, what is this greater intelligence that is here, that we're connected with. And so I think a lot of that is probably beyond the context of it, what we can get to right now. Yeah. But it will approach everyone, and it will teach whoever directly according to where that person is. So if you take like a monk out of a monastery in Nepal, in a Buddhist monastery, and you put them in an ayahuasca ceremony, and then you take someone from the corner of Main and Hastings and you put them in the same place, they're gonna have different experiences, because there's a direct intelligence from the substance that really that communicates with you, that will show you things. So that, I guess, is my response to why some people just aren't ready to see certain things, or I don't know whether. Or I think ultimately there's a loosening up that these substances can loosen things up that might be stuck inside us. So just because it doesn't work the first time doesn't mean it doesn't work again.
Interesting. Yeah, it might be the neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Just doing a time check. We've been chatting for about 40 minutes. Yep.
Yeah.
45.
Okay.
Sweet.
And whatever point, either now or I do want to talk about the downsides of. I think it's just important, to talk.
Yeah.
About,
Yeah. Sure. I'm gonna just make a noise here.
Absolutely. So the thing with psychedelics is that I've seen a lot of communities within these communities, because essentially I joined a group, and it was a major part of my development and what got to me where I am. And what I'll say is that it's not anymore, because it ran its course and I got out of it what I needed. And I ended up having, this is a different topic, but I ended up having the most profound experience of my life spiritually about 1.5 years ago in sobriety. And it completely changed the game for me, to the point where I was like, I don't need ayahuasca. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it all depends on a person's disposition. We're all built differently. We're all designed differently. And there is no one way to live life. There's no one spiritual path to live life. There's about as many ways to get to the end goal in life as there are human beings on the planet. We're all designed differently. So there is no correct answer on, I think, psychedelics and if what they're good or bad for. I just find that some people can get lost in a spiritual bypass sort of loop, to where they found this solution and then without doing any deep psychological work outside of it, or deep work within trauma outside of it. So it can be a certain component, but what ends up a lot of times happening is you rise up, you see things from this like miraculous perspective, see what's really happening with life, and then you come back down to earth and it leaves this like beautiful place that you're in internally, but then you forget about it, and then you go back to normal. And so people start chasing that same, it's
that
not
same environment of that ritual,
Yeah,
using the drug.
and then being in this euphoric, like, wow, I can see life from this whole different perspective. I don't believe that it can become an addiction, like the same way that, you know, it can't between heroin and crack and these alcohol, these kind of substances. But people have it, from what I've observed and how I feel about it, is that people can get stuck in a pattern of constantly seeking that elevated perspective. But it becomes a seesaw, and unless you really dive into life and really put effort into doing all of these things on a completely sober level, then I think you're bound to stay in those loops.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I fully agree that you need to bring the change that you're creating into the context of your life where you need it, and ideally with sobriety. So I'm curious what your experience was, a profound experience. And
let me think about that.
share as little or much as you want.
Yeah, there's a lot that I don't know how to share that, because I think, okay, I'll do a precursor here. Getting back to that same thing I said, is we all are born with a very specific disposition. And so the way I describe it is like human beings are like, we're like a walking antenna. And some of us have almost like a hypersensitivity. And there tends to be a lot of noise that muddies that reception. And so that's kind of when I see people, I almost see them as like these walking, you know, even like temples of God, really, if you want to get straight down to it, and how I really feel, because I actually believe that there is like almost like a signal going out, and that human beings are connected with that source. And this is stuff I generally don't talk about. It's a part of my inner world.
Even when editing, we can put as much or little of that in this one.
And it's fine. It's just more like I have my own, you know, sense of how I view cosmology and spirituality, and it tends to be a little bit outside of the box for a lot of people. But what I'll say is, we each have a disposition in how we're meant to live in life. And there is a specific disposition that I was born with. It would be like the mystic disposition. And it, it's like there's certain things I want to share, but I don't know what is oversharing and what is like, you know, what is.
Should I share something deep that I don't?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll share something.
It'll give me time to contemplate here in a minute.
About my beliefs. This just came to me actually once. You know how there's all those people scientists can't really find out what consciousness is, and there's an argument where some people think it's in the brain, some people think it's non-physical. Yeah. I actually think that the most non-physical thing is the black hole that's at the center of our galaxy. Because, you know, it's a black hole, and what happens when matter goes into black hole? Maybe it flips so that it's not even matter, it's consciousness. So anyone that's living in the Milky Way galaxy, there's just one consciousness in lots of different bodies, but that consciousness emanates and is connected with matter. It's another element of matter, but it comes from the center of our galaxy. You could call it God or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if 100% that's, but it came to me and I was like, oh, it just kind of, that makes sense. Yeah. So what I'll say is like, you've probably heard the term non-duality. Yeah. So essentially I had a non-dual experience that happened in sobriety that just dwarfed anything that I've experienced in, whether it's 5-MeO DMT or ayahuasca, and all the mystical experiences I've had with substances. Something happened to me that brought me into a state of non-dual awareness, to where it's actually one of the it is the incident where
a lot of the tools that I've been working with, a lot of the self-development stuff, a lot of the spiritual practices that I've been working with, it dropped it into my subconscious.
Wow.
You know, to where it made it so like nothing could convince me otherwise now. I'm completely convinced that what is actually happening here is all spiritual. And that by aligning ourselves with that and doing whatever we can to like clarify that reception, like if we were an antenna, you know, removing the fuzz and then having that as our guide, that it will give us everything we want in life. So, and what I'll say is like, this is like what every mystic from every tradition has this experience. So whether you're a Hindu mystic, Christian mystic, Muslim, Buddhist, the mystics across those traditions and more Jewish mystics, they all have the same experience and have a lot more in common with each other crossing traditions than they do within their own traditions of the fundamentalists, say, you know, like the ones that are translating things you know, word for word, without understanding that there's actually a deeper symbolism behind it. And you know, there are human beings that come to Earth just to guide people, and it's not the message that they're carrying so much as that what people do to it to twist it into their own human construct for power and control.
Yeah, like religion.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not like a proponent of religion as much as I am, like I'm supportive of what everyone needs in their life to find balance and to get themselves to the next point. Because essentially it's like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, we're all doing this journey and we're all at different parts of the journey. And we're all trying to go as far as we can on that journey.
Wow.
So we can never be in the same place. You know, it's like a constant search for creating equality in everyone is actually has problems. I'd say.
That's profound. A quote, and this isn't the quote; it's my interpretation because I can't remember the real quote. Something like, "Religion is what man creates when God has left the building."
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
It's I gotta hold on to this. I gotta understand it with my left brain. I gotta make all the rules.
Absolutely.
When really there's an experience.
Yeah, and that, you know, you saying the word experience is that that's the thing, is that what I'm actually specifically talking about is experience. I'm not talking about belief, and this is where we don't understand things unless we have the experience, which is one reason why we can't understand so much of the world, because if we're not having that person's experience, then we either don't have compassion, or we point the finger, or, you know, whereas we actually have their experience, we might have a different understanding. So the biggest problem in the world today is lack of understanding. Yeah. And so
understanding the other person's experience.
Yeah. And so a lot of what I talk spiritually is, it's not stuff I read in books and just I'm like, oh, I like this because it's got a cool symbol and there's a fashion behind it, or I like it because it makes sense. There's actually things you can do that create experience that are so undeniable that again, like no one can change my mind, and like, you know, leave me to it. I'm it's like, if you want to follow me, I'm going this way, and I'm not here to like debate it. It's more it's you know, it, yeah, I'm uncovering the meaning of life, and I think something to keep in mind with it is like, I was the one shooting up in front of Insight when the line was too long, or, you know, going into the alley behind it and getting Narcaned because I went too far. Wow. Being in that mental state and then being where I am now and actually finding that I'm discovering the keys and making sense of it. I recognize patterns, and that's one of my strengths, is like knowing patterns and how patterns work. And it's come into my inner world and discovering how it all fits. And when you bring that into a spiritual context, then there's a sort of acceptance that comes over you to, and it's one of my mottos in life is like complete unconditional acceptance of everything.
Oh,
you know,
can I give you a high five? That came to me a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah.
Because I dipped back into some episodes of depression and anxiety.
Okay, yeah.
That were really bad.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't last long, but they were heavy and deep the last couple of weeks. And that was one of my meditations. It was the biggest stress reliever I ever experienced. It was just every sense of depression and anxiety I had was I saw it as the pattern of my internal world fighting against what was.
Yeah,
and
resisting.
So I would do a thing where I would literally just experience it before I said it. I would experience 100% acceptance for everyone I knew, everyone I didn't know, the state of the world, everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's pure freedom.
Yeah,
and I was like,
absolutely.
Now I can get started creating some stuff that I want to create.
Absolutely.
So wow.
It's a crucial key to...
can you say it the way you said it? Unconditional acceptance.
Yeah, unconditional acceptance of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we need to like it or that we need to agree with it or that we don't set boundaries, that we don't speak our mind. Like, I'm not talking about rolling over and just like letting, getting pissed on. I'm talking about like there is something much deeper going on with reality, and it includes things are designed the way they are for a reason, and this life is the way that it is for a reason. We're never going to eliminate pain, and this is my journey of getting lost in addiction. It had everything to do with not resolving pain because I wanted to go towards what felt good. I don't want to feel that because it's bad and it doesn't feel good, so I'm just going to go here where it's fun and it's super awesome. But then you do that long enough, and then there's like a giant pile of unresolved issues that get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you start making choices that move towards short-term pleasure, but then create long-term pain. And then the pile gets bigger, and then everything's out of balance, and it's you turn into a wreck. And so ultimately, when you get to a certain point, you realize that you need to let go of what you're trying to either strangle or shove away as hard as you can, and learn how to sit in it amidst discomfort and pain.
It's almost like that's where you have the power to actually make a change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sweet. Huh.
Yeah.
Damn. Where were you 15 years ago when I was going through mine?
Well, I wasn't where I am now. Okay. Yeah. 15 years ago. What is 2025? I didn't clean up till 2013. So 15 years ago.
Olympics 2010.
The Olympics were gnarly for me.
That's when I was having my deep depression
for like a month in the winter.
I was like, I came out of a gnarly run in the middle of the Olympics, and I was in someone's car for some reason. We came downtown. I was in a whole bubble, and it was almost like being in a dream for me. Olympics were not okay for me, internally.
Wow.
Yeah, those were an action-packed few years. Yeah.
Cool. So it's almost 2. I should slowly start getting wrapped. I gotta get my kid from school in a bit, but I have a couple of really amazing narrative dialogue.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is that if you guys still wanted to come to the art show, that's going to be talking about art. So maybe not talking about art here is fine, because I'll be there and be able to.
It would be neat if you'd Gord, if you can prompt some inquisitive questions regarding
right now
art.
Yeah. Or even there will also be a question and answer period too. You can do it now. It's fine.
And this is the thing we want to, for the art show. I just want to put that on you for your
totally.
And just get the audio.
And then are you going to make it at 2? Or?
I might have to be at a soccer game.
If George doesn't,
even if you get the audio.
Get the audio and just some good B-roll. And
it would be nice to hear how art has helped too, because it's,
absolutely. There's a whole narrative there, and that's
even in summary, how is it connected with music, skateboarding, recovery, all that stuff.
I mean, do you want me to talk about it now? Or
what I know about your art, it is very intricate and pattern based. I like looking at your art because it's almost meditative, just looking at it. So this is a question. When did you first notice that? I know you do other stuff too, woodworking and other types of art, but when did you first notice yourself really enjoying the patterned work?
So I'll just share very briefly that when I was a kid, I just drew on everything, and I would finish a piece of schoolwork and I would draw and do all kinds of stuff. And so, and I did a little bit in my teenage years, but so I always liked drawing, but then boom, fast forward, I was a cabinet maker, musician, writing lots of music. So those were my creative pathways. Life collapsed, went into rehab, and in rehab there was an art therapy class that's here's paper, here's art supplies, do something for an hour, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And so I did this drawing, and then at the end of the class, the teacher was so he goes around to each person, and if you want to share, then he helps you, kind of dismantle it or just look at the drawing and what it is to you. And he looked at me, he was like, "You're an artist." And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Yes, you are." And I was like, "Okay." And he analyzed my drawing intuitively, and I was blown away that what was going on with me internally came out on the paper subconsciously. So at that point, that's what opened the door. I kept doing those classes. I didn't stop using. I was still using. And then, there's a lot that happened there, but essentially my friends flew me down to Colorado to help me clean up, and I brought a sketch pad down there. And instead of keeping a journal every day, I would draw every day. And so drawing a day, it was day 30 that I moved into a new sketchbook, and it just it went into a whole nother world. Up to that point, it was almost comic book style. And then it just was I don't know where my pencil's going, but it's going here now, and it's doing this, and wow, what's even happening to me? And how is this, this is bizarre. And then I realized that it was all spiritual. The connection with me is just natural. And something was moving through me. And there's a plan for me in this life. And I think part of it is this message coming through my art. And so that's when it really developed. And so from then I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drawings and paintings, and I'm getting into sculpture now, and as you'll see at the show, or maybe you saw on the website, it's some of the wood stuff I'm doing now. So combining it with my cabinet making and boat building sort of knowledge.
Sweet. Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you have some of these similar style paintings that show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for this video, we can splice in some of the imagery from your website, Instagram.
I can show, or if you have from the old photos, or
absolutely. So there's I have a whole stream of photos on Tumblr. I have an Instagram account. I have the Tumblr is cool because it's actually, it's like a long thread, and you can keep going down, and I have a lot of stuff there. It's my third solo show at this gallery, Outsiders and Others, and my fifth show. I had 2 group shows before that, but it's been awesome. The how I've been received, and it's been very successful so far, from the genre that I'm in, which is considered outsider art, which is it's a little different. It's kind of like the skateboarding punk rock version of art scene.
Sweet.
So there's that DIY aspect, and I'm doing it a different way than what they tell me it needs to be like.
I like that.
And so there's a whole world around it, and it's the genre for me, obviously. Punk rock, skateboarding.
The Equinox Gallery.
Yeah.
I live like half a block away.
Okay, cool.
I
Yeah.
was walking past.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 galleries in that neighborhood now.
Yeah.
Little one and another little one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, and Raw Vision, which is like they are like the magazine for that genre, for outsider art. I think they're European based. They did an Instagram post of me and put me on their on their what do you call it? Their newsletter feed thing for my show. It's like that's one of my big life goals is to have an article in their magazine. So that just happened this morning. So that's like some of the best news I could have received. Yeah.